Hello, and welcome to the Aspire Goalkeeping podcast, the place to be for all of your goalkeeping talk. In this series of podcasts, we will be talking to a range of goalkeepers and coaches, from the professionals right the way down to the grassroots players and coaches, to get their input and thoughts on a wide range of topics to do with goalkeeping, and to learn a little bit more about them as people and their careers. Sit back, take a listen, and get involved in the Aspire Goalkeeping podcast. Welcome to the Aspire Goalkeeping podcast. We're joined today by Matt Gilks. I'm Adam.
And I'm Sam.
Matt, so thank you for joining us today. Could you start off just by telling us a little bit about yourself, about your career, and what club you're at nowadays?
I think you two know me better than anyone. Do we really need to start about what I've been and what I'm doing? I'm Matthew, I'm 38. I was born in Rochdale. No. So, yeah, I obviously Matt Gilks, so I started out at Rochdale, my local team. When I was 17, I made my debut. I joined Rochdale, I think around 14. Made my first professional debut at age of 17. Stayed there until I was turning 24. Played 198 games, I think I did for them at the time. In the League Two as it is. Then I moved on to Norwich, where I spent a season. Sat behind David Marshall, which wasn't a bad thing because he was so good. Then I moved on to Blackpool, where I had a difficult first year. I spent, I think, 6 years there. The difficult first year, went out on loan to Shrewsbury and played some games. Came back and he, the way took over, and then we were quite successful under him. Had a year in the Premier League, or half a year, bar an injury. Then moved on to Burnley. 2 good years there. Again, frustrated, but I had Tom Eaton in front of me, which I'd like to say helped and improved him, as well as getting frustrated. I know that he got better through me being there. Then moved on to Rangers, where I spent 6 months. Loved it there. Probably shouldn't have left. Had a bit of a fallout with somebody. Then went on to Wigan. 6 months at Wigan. Unfortunately, got relegated out of the Championship. And then to Scunthorpe, where I met yourselves.
Yes.
Best club.
Oh, yeah.
Good for me, not so good for you two. But, where obviously I had a good season the first year, and then unfortunately I did my cruciate in the first playoff game against Rotherham, which set me back 6 months. But after that 6 months, then I don't know who, in their wisdom, at Scunthorpe decided to let me go. Well, he shouted my name nameless, but he decided that I was probably too old and coming back from an injury. And then went to Lincoln and then won League Two with Lincoln. Played 14 games, 7 clean sheets, conceded 7, and got a championship winning medal. So, there you go. And unfortunately, Scunthorpe got relegated that year as well. And then after Lincoln, went to Fleetwood for a year with my mate Joey Barton. Played a few games, didn't really do much there. Again, just trained. Just went in, helped Cairnsey, helped anybody. And then since there, I've joined Bolton at the start of the season as a player coach, but had more intentions of coaching than playing. And as it turned out, I've done more playing than coaching.
Yeah. Not bad.
At the right old age of 38. So, I've still got a little bit of life in me yet.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's been probably one of the best careers I could say you could probably have.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you got any best moments in it? What are you thinking? What are your best moments that you've had?
I think for me, I've had a few injuries. I've had obviously my knee. I broke my kneecap. Did my cruciate. I had a dislocated elbow that put me out for a while. But I think for me, having the longevity of the career, as much as anything else, is a big part of football, rather than having a really good 5 years. I think being in football as long as I have, it's taught me a lot. I've been some great places, obviously with Scotland national team. But like I say, at 38, I'm still going. I still feel good. Bolton are doing well now. Hopefully get promoted this season. And after playing this season, I have no intentions, I don't think, of stopping, whether it be playing or not. I can still do it. So why would I just do that because everyone else thinks you're done when really I'm not. So I'm not going to hang them up just yet.
No, definitely. I can definitely say that for my time that I spent with you, you've obviously helped me out a lot, and I could probably say the same for Sam and every other young keeper that you've worked with. Obviously, you've touched on the Scotland thing there. How did you find them experiences? Were they some good times for you?
Yeah, they were the best times. I mean, obviously we got promoted with Blackpool to the Premier League, and then Craig Levein. Obviously, I got on the radar of Scotland through my grandmother, and thankfully Craig Levein brought me into the squad. But it was a massive eye opener for me because you think you're doing well. You got promoted through the playoffs and Wembley and beating Cardiff, and then you go to the Premier League and you're in the best league in the world, arguably, and then you get called to a national team and it makes the Premier League, especially at Blackpool, like a kick in the park with your mates. It was, you're meeting the best of the best. And, we've got Darren Fletcher there. We had a lot of really, really talented players. And when you're with the best of the best, your mindset changes again. You think you're doing really well, and then you get a little setback in your mind, and you think, I've got to do so much more work here to keep in with these lads, because they're on another level to me. Like I mentioned, Darren Fletcher, the way he conducted himself in training, around the hotel, how he spoke to people. It was really a sight to see. People's application in training was another level. And it made me realise that I've got a lot of work to do. And at 26, 27, when you're coming to the prime of your career, to have that was probably a good time, because it really helped me refocus and not just sit there, think, I'm doing really well at this. I've got to go again. And, that's what I did. Thankfully, I did. And I think that's got me longevity. And I think as well, I just alluded on injuries. I think there are times when you're in the gym on your own and you go to some dark places. I've been to some places, do you come back? Is it worth it? What else can I do? The testing times, but when you come out the other side of it, like the international, it gives you a different mindset, and you know what you've got to do, how you look after yourself, recover. And I think since the first injury, when I broke my kneecap playing for Blackpool in the Premier League, it gave me a new sense of what it takes to be a footballer, rather than just turning up, training, going home, turning up, training, going. The nutrition, the work off the pitch, how you look after yourself, how you conduct yourself. It opens it up to be not just a game of football, it's a lifestyle. And I think at that age, when I got my first injury, it set me up for the other injuries, because if I wouldn't have come back from the first one, I'd have never got through the others. So football's a learning curve, and I've been in it 20 years plus now, and I'm still learning, genuinely still learning. But as you get older, you help, and like you two just mentioned, I like to think that I helped you to some extent when I was at Scunthorpe. I think you both realised how hard you had to work, and I think youngsters these days, they don't really appreciate what it takes. You've got to be all in. It's everything. You've got to live and die by it. You get off your social media, get off your phones, get in the park, practice your kicking, do your weights, do your gym stuff. And that's why the best are the best, because not all they're naturally talented. They can work on that talent. Yes, they've got all the help and the facilities, but they still got to put the work in. And that's why they do it, and that's why they're still playing. Yeah,
that's probably one thing I realised a little bit too late, to be fair, was when I was in the youth team and you came along and you went, look, book your ideas up. Do you know what I mean? You made me realise how much I needed to change my mentality, and how much I did change my mentality. Even when I left Scunthorpe, my mentality changed completely, and I toned down. I got muscular and everything like that, and it changed me as a goalkeeper. And obviously, just that one little kick up the backside from a pro like you, someone who I've looked up to and everything like that, it just makes you realise. And obviously, a person who's probably helped me, who's probably helped you, would be Mick Clegg. Down in Manchester. I just don't let people know a little bit about what he does, because he honestly is absolutely fantastic in helping me and helping yourself.
Yeah, well, Mick, I found Mick when I broke my kneecap, my first major injury, and I did my rehab with him. And I went there, and I was quite a muscular goalkeeper at the time. I thought the bigger you are, the more presence you have, and the better you are. And he slimmed me down completely. And basically, Mick's a reaction coach, a lot of fitness, and his background is Man United. He spent 12 years at Man United, and he made Ronaldo. Everybody, the look of Ronaldo now that everybody sees was down to Mick Clegg and obviously the work he put in with him. So I went there, and suddenly again, another milestone in my career where you think you're fit, you think you're in shape, and someone looks at you and says, no, you're not. So I changed. I had to adapt. I did what I was told. I lost weight. I toned up. And I came back fitter and better. And I still go with Cleggy now. I'm hopefully trying to set something up myself that does similar, but purely for goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Because I train down there. I mean, I formerly trained with a speedway rider, and Aaron Cook, the world number 1 taekwondo at the time he was, and so he does a broad spectrum of sports, which I think when I look at it, and when I was working with him, I knew everything was so specific to goalkeeping. So, hopefully in the near future, after COVID, hopefully I can start doing, that for goalkeepers myself. But I mean, Clegg has been instrumental in my last 10 years of my career. Again, without him, telling you, being honest with you, again, Sam, you said there that, I've come in Scunthorpe and I know what it takes to be a top goalkeeper. I've not just yourself, I've done it with other young lads who have not applied themselves properly, should I say. I don't mind anybody having an off day. Everyone makes mistakes. I chucked one in against Cambridge the other week, but it's one of them things with human beings. But if you haven't got the effort and desire to train properly and put into practice what you've been taught, then, I've threatened to send lads in before now. I pulled them, I had a little quiet word today. If you don't put yourself up, I'm going to send you in because I ain't training with that. And like I say, if I have a bad day, I'm having a really bad day because I'm putting all my effort in to have a bad day. That's how I train. I've had 2 or 3 managers over the last 5 years tell me to slow down, and you know how I train. You know how I train.
Definitely.
It's just I'm all in. It's just that's me. I'm still the same now. The goalkeeper coach now, Andy Fairman, I've got a Bolton, and the manager is saying, do you want to have a day inside? I'm like, nah, we'll go out. We'll just do something. We'll just get out there, get in the fresh air, and just get balls blasted at us. And that's how I've always been. And I know there'll be a day when I go out there and my body can't cope. But until that day comes, I'm just going for it, and that's how I've always been.
Definitely.
I'm definitely interested in, because obviously you've played so many games across your career, probably over 500, I'd say. How do you prepare mentally for each game? Because obviously each game's different. You've got playoff finals compared to a midweek game with a 4-hour travel. Do you have any pre-match routines that obviously other goalkeepers may not have?
I think we've all got our little things that we do. I mean, I always put everything on my left first for some reason. It actually makes no difference. You want to wear the same pair of boxers and same pair of socks to games, and do you know what? It doesn't make a difference. But I just think in your head, the knowledge that you've done that, it makes everything okay. But the preparation, I think, is the same for every game. And even now, I mean, I played yesterday. Yeah, it was on TV, so it's had a little bit more pressure on it. But I'm in the hotel on Friday night, and I'm still, have I done everything right? This, that, and then you start thinking about the game. Right, so big man up front who unfortunately, dislocated, broke his hand or whatever. Big striker. Yeah, they cross everything on him. He's powerful, he's strong, he'll attack you. So you're almost playing the game before you've played it in your head. Right, and obviously your team, so you set pieces. You go, right, well, he's in the front zone, I've got recall in the mid zone, and then they pick up and so on. So I'm already running the game through my head. Even though I've played, I think they said 516 games, but that's just how I've always done it. Kids these days, they just go into games, it's like, let's play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a generate thing, I don't really know, but I'm like deep, like, my missus says to me, like, Matt, why are you worried? I said, well, I'm not worried, I'm thinking it's a process. And she's like, well, you've played so many games. Why do you still worry about it? I'm not worrying. I'm playing the game through my head before I've done it. Where I need to be, how I need to talk, position myself, help others. Where are their weaknesses? Obviously, yourselves, you go through, the opposition set plays and patterns and what they do, and they're all playing through my head the night before. And then, to be honest, on the morning of the game, I tried to forget about it, because you can get swallowed up with it. I mean, you look out the window, it's raining, it's blowing a gale, and you think, oh my, and you just got to get on with it. You've got to try and block them things out. But the things that need to be in your head, the tactical side of the game, you need to play over and over again and know already what you're going to do before you've done it. And I think that stands me in good stead for when I go on the pitch.
I know you say that, but obviously when it's a playoff final, surely something's going through your head maybe. Are you just approaching it as a normal game, or is it?
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you have to, because, I remember we went to Wembley, we had a look round it, and then the next day you go, and the same thing applies. Like I say, in the morning, you get up, you go for your breakfast, you get your kit on, you do whatever you need to do. You drive to the game like any other game. And you've got to mentally block out that it's Wembley, there's 90,000 there, it's 106 degrees at pitch level. For the first 25 minutes of that game, I wasn't even there. Just completely, because it was so hot as well on the day we beat Cardiff. But you have to approach it, because otherwise, if you get so involved in it, it'll swallow you up, and it'll be too much. You'll get overawed by the occasion. Well, you need to scale it back down and say, whether this be Cardiff at Wembley, or this was Barnsley at Oakwell, or whoever it may be, it's a game of football. And that's what it's come back to. Still a pitch, same markings, 11 versus 11, 90 minutes. It's a game of football. So you have to take the euphoria out of it and concentrate on the game. And I think on the flip side of that, with COVID and no fans being in the ground, it's as equally as difficult doing it the other way. So we've got obviously a fantastic stadium, the University of Bolton Stadium. It's a 30,000 seater stadium. There's nobody there. But it's still a game of football. So whether that's 30,000 there or there's not, it's still a game of football. And you have to apply yourself like, that's all that matters for that 90 minutes. That's it. I don't think about...
Don't worry.
The dog I didn't want, honestly.
I think for me, one thing that you've touched on quite a lot is about like being quite mentally strong. Obviously, I think especially being a goalkeeper, it's a position that you have to be very mentally strong, because one mistake and you could lose your team a game basically. How do you prepare for that, like mentally, and do you kind of get nervous or anything before games, or is it just the same old feelings that you get all the time?
I wouldn't say nervous. I still have that feeling of, I hope everything goes well. Mm. And I think you learn as you get older, through experience, how to deal with different situations. Like I said, I made a mistake against Cambridge the other week. A shot dipper, it's come in, it's actually spilled through my legs and just gone over the line. I've never done that in my career before. So it's a first for me. Yes, I've made mistakes and I've made big mistakes in big games, but in all honesty, like, no one's going to be talking about Matt Gilks making a save against Cambridge in the next 6 weeks. Do you know what I mean? It's something that happens with human beings. All the training in the world and these situations just happen, and you've just got to deal with it. I mean, you get on with it and you go over it, you look at it and you say, well, I probably should have done that instead of that. And then next time you don't do it. And that's how you learn. If you don't make mistakes, you're never going to learn. Mm. You know what I mean? How many mistakes have you guys made and you still turn out next day?
Enough.
Not many. So it's part of life. I mean, It's not just in football. Not many people make mistakes every day in their day-to-day lives in the office. And, we just highlight it because we're footballers and we get paid so much money and we don't, but you know what I mean? And it's just part of being a human being. Mistakes happen and you just got to move on from it.
Definitely. So obviously 100% massively helped me and Adam throughout our time there, and obviously probably even Rory when he was there as well, he probably boosted him up, made him work harder and everything like that. So what advice would you offer to people like in the situation me and Adam, being that 16, 17, 18-year-old, we're in the youth team or we're in grassroots football, what would you say to them to help and guide them through maybe making that next step into the professional game or solidifying their place in the youth team or something like that?
I just think it's complete attention to what you're doing. Like you mentioned Rory there, I think I came into Scunthorpe, and Rory Watson's a great young goalie. There's no doubt about he's got a lot of talent. But he's seen a 34, I think it would have been 32. Yeah, I think 34 35 actually. Sorry, when I came to Scunthorpe, and he's probably thought, this 35-year-old here with all his grey hair, like what's he got about him? And then suddenly you train, and it's like, oh, it's that. That's what I've got now. I've got to be like that. So now I moved his goalpost because he's got to come here. I'm never going to go there. He's got to come here. And I know I speak to Rory still, and he says to me that, I made him realise what it takes and how good you've got to be every day. And that's the thing with, especially being a number one, you're going every day. You've got to be the best in training. Come a game, you've got to be the best to keep your place in the team. So it's not just about, I've got the shirt and I'm playing and, now I can do this. No, it's foot on, completely foot on all the time. And I think for youngsters, it is that due care and attention to what they're doing, how you approach everything that you do. Training has to matter. Mm-hmm. The early nights have to matter. Mm-hmm. The gym, the core work, the extras have to matter every time you do something. Now, it didn't always matter to me when I was younger. I got thrown in at 17 at Rochdale, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire, and it was sink or swim. And thankfully, I just about held my head above the water, and and then I got a contract and the next, and so on and so forth. But I could learn and put into practice what I'd been taught. That was the one thing I had, where was, if you learn to do this in this situation, it will be better than not doing this in this. Do you understand what I mean? That's why we do the drills and the different shots and the different techniques and what we talk about, because you're going to put them into practice, into games, and that's when it matters in the games. So for me, you've got to give it your all. It's especially these days. I mean, I didn't have the distractions of social media and things like that. I came home from school with my brother and my mates on the street, and we went back out playing football. Like now there's a lot of other distractions, and I possibly think it's as easy now to make it as a footballer than it was in my day, because everyone in my day played football. I don't think everybody does now. There's a lot of other distractions. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's YouTube nowadays. Like when you go around all young kids and everything like, you're thinking, what do you want to be when you're older? When it was, even probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was footballer. I want to be a footballer. I'll go in the, as we call it, 10-foot or a ginnel or whatever you call it, and we'd be kicking the ball about. Whereas nowadays it's, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a YouTuber.
Be on the games,
I want to be on the games,
and
it's like that. Is it dying, the game of football or something? But it's just, it's completely different.
And that's the thing. We didn't have that, so we were total football. But the amount of players that I've seen fall out of the game who were better than me, my brother was one. He was far better. I mean, he was an outfielder, but he was far better than me. Far better. And he just never, he was very slight, a slight build, but obviously I was the idiot and wanted to be a goalie, but he missed out, and he was very, very good. And the amount of players I've seen who were very good and never made it. So yeah, I think, as a youngster now, if you can get yourself off your Xbox and watch football, play football, get yourself off your phone, and these are sacrifices that you've got to make for the greater good, because if you make them sacrifices when you're young, you could be a millionaire by the time you're 20. That's football these days, do you know what I mean? And for that little sacrifice, in my eyes, I've sacrificed a lot over my career. Christmases you sacrifice every year, birthdays. I still stay in the other room on a Friday night so we can get a good night's kit. Do you know what I mean? It's just what I've always done, and I love it. I mean, I love it. You know that I'll dive about when I'm 50, 100%. Do you know what I mean? So but you've got to sell out. You can't be half-hearted. You can't be, I want to be a goalie, but if I don't, then it's okay, because I'm going to go and do that. If you dedicate yourself to anything, not just football, anything in life, if you dedicate yourself to it, you're going to succeed. And especially when other people of a similar age are in your mindset, or not in your mindset, you've already got one over on them, because you're mentally getting stronger. I'm going to be a footballer. I'm going to be, and you're telling yourself all the time, and you dedicate to your profession, then, success is only a matter of time.
Definitely. Well, Matt, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. I'm sure that our listeners will have a lot of good tips to take from that. So thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you all the best for the rest of the season.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you very much.